All right, let's get to we've got Bears, we've got Tigers, we've got number 11 Clemson hosting Louisville, 7:30 p.m. ESPN. Night game in Death Valley. It's been a while since there's been a night game in Death Valley. Clemson 10.5-point favorite. Mac, if that's changed, let me know. I wrote these down earlier in the day.
10, down
Clemson,
half a point. The hook's gone.
So 10. Dang, only 10. Wow. Okay, Clemson's coming off a bye week. Louisville coming off a gritty, I'm going to give them credit, gritty win at BC, but a game where they needed, kind of a miracle to come back, to be honest, down 20-0. And I was listening to someone else talk about this, and I thought this was really correct. I think it was the Cover 3 podcast. And they said Louisville, in very much, when you look at Louisville's games, they've either played up or down to their opponent. Like, that's straight up what they've done all season. Virginia was suspect the way they played. BC, not great, but then when they played Notre Dame, they played pretty well. They just had some bad turnovers. When they played Miami, they obviously played well. SMU was a great game. So I expect Louisville to be ready and to play up in this game, Mac.
Yeah, and that's a great point. And the interesting thing too is about a couple of those. You look at the Notre Dame game specifically. That was away. That was at Notre Dame. The other two were at home.
Yeah.
And so that's a big deal. You have your environment. Now you're going into somebody else's house. I mean, I expect Death Valley to be rocking. I mean, haven't seen your team in a week. I know everybody's excited. You got a good team in Louisville coming into town. A great game. That atmosphere better be nuts. And there's a couple of Louisville fans, first time visitors to the Valley. I hope it's memorable for them, right? It's one of those things where you hope it's one of the best environments that we know and know it can be, especially at night. It's a tough place to win. Not a lot of people go there and do it at a night game in particularly. But when you look in the game, it is very intriguing. And I think the most intriguing piece of it is the Louisville offense, which, we've seen at times be super electric, very balanced, whatever they want to do, run it, pass it, very, very effective, versus a Clemson defense that production-wise, stat-wise, has been suspect, hasn't been up to par. And I do think a lot of that is UVA, 21 points in the fourth quarter. NC State, 21 points in the fourth quarter. A weird middle ground where App State scored 20 points. Georgia scored, whatever in the second half. So there's all these weird number explosions that occur. And now the Georgia game, obviously anomaly, you get, throttled in that game. But the others, it's such a comfortable margin of victory. You've got walk-ons in, you've got third team in, and just the depth is not what it has been at Clemson. Or guys just don't know what they're doing. One of the two. One of the two are true.
College football too, Mac. With the transfer portal, the depth just isn't what it has been.
Sure. No question. And so, I do think that if you watch the tape and when you see it still being super competitive, this Clemson defense is really good. So are we going to get to see them, play a full game? Does it come down to that? Is it tight enough to where, you're seeing these guys play the entire time? I don't know. We'll see. But I do know when Barrett Carter, Avion Terrell, are on the field together, and then you've got 11 doing his thing as well. It's a different unit. When you see the things that they're able to do, it's been really fun. So I'm excited to see that. I'm excited to see how they go out there and play the different things. And again, those three guys are really good. Peter Woods is really, really good, at the defensive tackle. So when all three of them are together, it's been fun. But that's the matchup piece, KG, that I think is going to be fascinating, just to see what the chess match and how Coach Brom and Coach Wes Goodwin are going at each other.
Yeah, and Clemson has had a bye week. So this defense, which has been somewhat banged up at times, they should be ready to go. Louisville's the one coming off a tough road game at Boston College. But Mac, overall, I think this is a massive game for Clemson. Obviously, every game is when you're trying to make the playoff, but for this Clemson defense, this is by far the best offense they will have faced since Georgia. By far, I think. I don't even think it's close. And so you really haven't played an offense that you feel, or a team that you feel like can beat you, honest, if we're being honest, since Georgia. So you have all these factors with Louisville as well. And I think this Louisville offense is pretty good, to your point. I mean, Isaac Brown has been a revelation. He's been great. Ja'Cory Brooks and Tyler Shuck has been really good too. So this is a massive game for the Clemson defense. I think we need to see if they're actually I think this tells us a lot. If Clemson can truly compete whether it's with Miami or beyond, or who knows, SMU, Pitt.
Sure.
So I'm respecting you.
I agree.
But
I
I think
totally
this will
agree
tell us
with
a
you.
lot, Matt.
Yeah, and I mean, you bring up Brooks. I mean that matchup. I hope Avion, Terrell follows him around all day. I mean that's just that's a couple of really talented NFL caliber players. At a high level. I think Brooks is playing better than any receiver in the league right now. I mean, he is go-to guy, automatic, big playability, speed, size. I mean, he's got it all. It's going to be really fun, to see those two match up. And then you mentioned Tyler, Shuck and the things. This is going to be the best environment, the loudest, the craziest, whatever hostile environment that he's ever played in front of. So how do you operate? He's older. I mean, clearly he has a bunch of experience and should be fine, but that's a differentiator. That's a different story. You're walking into that valley and things of that nature. So I am interested in that and everything you just said there about this being the best offense. And, Clemson's November is about to ramp up in a hurry. Like we're going to find out quickly about the Tigers. And then on the other side, I look at this offense, Cade Klubnik continuing to do his thing. Wesco might be back. We'll see. It sounds like he's day to day. Sounds like Tyler Brown will not be back this week. But the other receivers have stepped up. They've been playing really, really well. So, the continued growth there, the continued comfortability, of that unit is going to be fun to watch.
And Mac, I think honestly, both of these defenses have underachieved a little bit. I think we all thought the Louisville defense would be a little better. So we'll see what they can do against this Clemson offense. You bring up the night game in Death Valley. Intern Nick gave us this great stat. And Mac, you've been a part of some of these. Clemson has won 22 straight home night games. Wow. And that is a streak that spans over the last 11 years, the nation's second longest active streak. The last home night game that Clemson lost, Mac, I think you know the answer to that one, 2013.
Oh, that was it? That's good. That's good to know.
Yeah, Florida State. So that was the last one. Yeah, that was really bad. Don't Clemson fans all know what we're talking about there.
Oh, God.
So Clemson's very good at home at night. Louisville fans, you remember the 2016 game, that one of the most epic college football games ever. That game was at night, and I think the home crowd was truly the difference maker. I mean, it led to a bunch of penalties, false starts, all that.
KG, that's one of the only games. People ask me this all the time. Do you miss it? Do you miss it? Whatever. That was obviously also one of the more recent ones of me being out. That was my first year out.
Yeah.
But that truly is one of the only games that I was like, I wish I was out there. I wish I was playing because the environment was crazy.
It was crazy.
Like Lamar, it's Deshaun. I mean, it was nuts. It was so nuts. And I was just like, golly, I would love to be a part of this. I would love to be out there right now. So we'll see. Who knows? Maybe it's chaos again. Maybe it's magic.
Those were two great teams. And Clemson and Louisville have played interesting games since they've both been in the ACC. However, Louisville's never won. Clemson is 8-0 against Louisville, so keep that in mind. And then Mac,
these two never lost.
Yeah. These two crazy spread stats should just be something to keep in mind before we make our pick. Clemson is 6-1 against the spread in their last 7 games in November. They remember November. And then here's really the kicker. Louisville is 0-6 against the spread in their last 6 games versus Clemson. So that tells you a lot right there. And those are great stats from intern Nick. I think I'm going to take Clemson to cover the 10. I think it's right around. I mean, I think Clemson wins maybe by 13, 14. Maybe it's a late touch. I think this game will be somewhat back and forth and should be interesting, should be fun. But the home night game factor is a little too much for me.
Yeah, the total, it's the highest total of the weekend for the ACC at 62.5.
Oh, yeah, that's high.
I think Clemson wins by a couple touchdowns. And maybe it's late. Maybe they hit a touchdown late to go up 14 or whatever it is. But yeah, I think they cover. And again, I think that this is November is different. You've said it a handful of times. November is different for the Clemson Tigers, and they crank it up. And I've been a part of a lot of that. And Coach Sweeney just has it in another gear and understands it. And especially when he's in position to win a championship. I mean, it's, the last handful of years or spottily, whatever, that hadn't necessarily been the case, specifically last year, being, 4-4 at one point or whatever it was. So they're in a dangerous spot and they know it, and they know what the run that they can go on and what that'll mean for them.
And Mac, just one more thing. This could be for Louisville. You win this game, the season flips in a lot of ways, right? I know you have 3 losses, but the season turns in a big way for Louisville. So massive game for